Okay, it worked.
Yay. Okay, learned something new today. All right, and the other thing I am going to do is we're going to mute everyone. So I hope you got all your little comments in earlier because I'm going to hit mute all. And, all right, I think that will work. And then I'm going to turn it over to our illustrious Vice President. And he is going to tell you who our special guest for tonight is and what we are up to this time. So Bob, unmute yourself and take it away.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I got trapped the last time. This time.
That's why I always remind.
Couple of things. We have now decided to take the entries for evaluation and send them off to the evaluator prior to the evaluation day. And we've done it twice now, but this is really working out really well. Mike has put a link together that he sent to Anthony, and we've seemed to find a lot better way of handling the photos to go to the evaluators. So congratulations to Michael on putting a good deal together for us on that and making it easy for everybody. Great job on that. And we also have Anthony Rumley, who was Anthony Rumley Photography. He did the great show for our digital matting show the other day. And I've noticed a lot of Facebook postings these days with a lot of mat around them and set up. So Anthony does a great job of evaluation. He's one of our top evaluators. And he's also someone that as a group, we should be getting a hold of and talking to him and see if we can get his expertise and work with him on some of our projects that we're doing. And if you have stuff, he's a great teacher, someone that'll really make you a better photographer and understand a lot of things. And there's some stuff that we're looking to go forward with, some more training. So look forward to that coming up for the rest of the year and going into next year. And Anthony is going to be doing the evaluations today. He has everything on his laptop, and we will turn it over to Anthony. If he has anything you want to bring up now, Anthony, you can go ahead and do your little thing, and then we'll go into the evaluations.
All right, good evening, guys. Well, this will be interesting to see what happens if anybody has entered anything with mats. I think I saw a sneak peek at a couple. But I tried not to look at anything. The only thing I've done is kind of load them into Lightroom, which is how we're going to go through these tonight for me to be able to evaluate them for you. And I tried not to really look at anything. I did as blindly as I could, so everybody gets a fair shake that I haven't had a chance to see anything. So I'm always surprised you guys have not put in that disclaimer, you know, they always ask for prior to my judging. I'm brutally honest. If it's great, I'll rave about it. If it's not so great, I'll let you know about that too. But I promise always will give you input on how to make it better. So that's always my deal whenever I'm teaching. So if we have any comments on any of the images, again, don't take it personally. Or if you have any questions, you don't want to ask them here, you can feel free to send me an email, anthony@anthonyrumley.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions for you. I think most of the faces I see here are ones that have been around for a while. So I think most of the folks here probably know me already. So anyway, with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. Let me share the screen here. Again, they've changed this, so I can only share certain things here. So let me get over to the share screen for Lightroom and we'll get started. All right, so you guys have to let me know, do you see what I'm seeing on the screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
See the first single image, correct?
Yeah, it's still showing the Lightroom.
All right, so are we seeing the 100 years young image?
Yes.
Okay, outstanding. If you guys see anything crazy then, yell and let me know. Otherwise, I'll assume you can see it. All right, so this is a great capture. You know, 100 years young. I mean, man, if anybody, I've had the pleasure of photographing two women at their 100th birthday, and man, they're usually pretty spry. And they've usually worn the guys out, so I've never photographed any guys at 100. I guess they're out there, but they're few and far between. But anyway, this is great. I love her expression, love the cake, love you can see the 100 on it. Really enjoy the connection between the two subjects you have here. in the front, whether they're friends or that's her daughter. But this is just a fun, nice capture of this image. So this is great celebration. Love all the little faces back here. This is nice capture for an event like this.
Anthony, you have all the menus there showing. The picture is rather small.
Well, I can try. I see. I can't tell what you guys are seeing. Does that still show anything? Because I'm.
Yeah, we're still.
No, it's a small picture.
Yeah. So I don't know what to tell you guys about that. Let me hide the panels here. I don't know if that'll gain me any more space for you guys.
Anthony, if you type F, will it take it to full screen?
Well, that'll make it a little bit bigger there. It should.
Yeah.
It is a little
I mean,
bigger.
ideally, I'd like to have this full screen. See, for me, that's full screen, but I don't know if it is for you guys.
That's
Uh-huh.
pretty
Yeah, that works, but we still have the band down below with the all your different photos on it.
Yeah, see, for me, I don't even see that. So that's something, unfortunately, that they have changed. It used to be I could share my desktop exactly as it appears on my desktop, and evidently that's not the same anymore. Because on my screen, the only thing I see is literally the full screen image.
I think it's cutting off the bottom of the image.
So anyway, I'm gonna keep trucking on here as long as you guys can see most of the image, I hope.
That was Paul Bickford, by the way.
Okay. So this is celebration of peace through Mandels. This is nice. Looks like you probably had to use a high ISO on this. Looks like a lot of grain that we're picking up sort of in the dark areas of the reds. Nice job on the matting here. So we are beginning to see that kind of show up there. So good for you guys. Always just be careful. Make sure your matting on the outside, the strokes aren't so bold that it's drawing your eye out to the outside. So ideally, maybe would make this one a little bit darker. If I had a choice, it'd be really nice to kind of see maybe one of the faces of these guys and actually see just a little bit more of what's going on. But as far as an overall scene, this is nice. Nice having the paints and everything you can see in the background. So nicely done on this.
The Ravanon.
All right, celebrate spring. Nice little chickadee here. Looks like we have a little bit of motion, so that would make sense with all the droplets and everything else. But you want to try to have at least something in there nice and sharp. Looks like maybe a couple of the feathers are, but just bump up that shutter speed a little bit more because you do have some frozen droplets here, but this little guy must have been moving around quite a bit. So ideally I'd like to see him a little sharp, but this is a really fun capture. Nicely done. Love the splash of color. This is probably one of those that may benefit from having a little bit of that matting placed on it to give it a little more finished look and pick up on that yellow. But this is this is a fun image. You certainly don't see anything like this.
Bob Shammerhorn.
All right, celebrating creativity. All right, so it's a little hard to tell what the story is for this or what the purpose of this image is. So if this is sort of a photojournalistic kind of a capture here, some event that's going on, but I can't see the person who's our main subject. I can't see his face. I don't really know what he's doing. You know, it looks like an art gallery, looks like a lot of people around, but I really just can't tell what the story is. So this is a little bit of a challenge to really understand from someone who wasn't there what the purpose of this image is and what's happening.
Linda Schmiel.
All right, celebrating our World War II heroes. Looks like probably a resolution issue here, not real sharp. It looks a little jagged, but I think that's a resolution issue of the file, not necessarily how it was captured. This again is a nice image. I love the balance of the people that you have in here. These guys have certainly earned a spot to be at this location. We don't really know what they're looking at. So while it's a nice image of these guys, and we see the Virginia War Memorial sign in the background, again, I'm not really I don't know how they're being celebrated. If you have something like this is probably a nice capture for, you know, the War Memorial to have this. But if I were here at all possible, I would try to get in close on one of these guys. Now, the character that's going to be in their faces or in their hands, you know, that's really going to tell a powerful story. You know, go to one side or the other and try to shoot along a line of them just to make it a little more interesting. Because again, here, I just don't have enough context to really see what's going on or what that celebration is for.
That's Karen Davis. And yeah, there were some issues with the file size she was having.
All right. Yeah, we'll forgo that. All right, celebration Mount Rushmore. All right, so somebody did a little traveling here. This is nice. I probably would just, you know, if you're going to put an image in like this and it's fireworks, and you've done all this work to be there and sort of capture it, I would play a little bit more with trying to get some of the trails of these rather than just the sparkles that are there. You know, fireworks are kind of a fun thing to play with because you never really know what's going to happen or what you're going to get unless you're in with those guys. And I don't know how you do that. Also down here at the bottom, you've got the top of somebody's head. So that's the kind of thing that definitely needs to go away if you're going to put something in competition. I don't think this would be strong enough to move on to another competition if you're thinking about doing this. There's just not enough happening here of like real trails. And then it's getting really dark back in here where it's really bright on the face. So just a little bit of balancing out of those faces would make that a little more interesting. If I really look at this, the main thing that I see that's drawing my eye is this really bright triangle in the front of all this stone. So when I look at this image, I sort of look here a little bit, but then I really look down at this big pile of stone that's down in front of it. And really that takes me away from this being a celebration kind of an image.
Ed Hageman.
All right. So in real competition, we would never compare one image to another, but for the sake of education for you guys, you look at this image and now you see those streaks that are happening for fireworks. This is a little more typical, a little more interesting and engaging for the viewer to sort of see what's going on. This says Christmas in Williamsburg, but again, this is one of those things, I can't tell that it's Christmas. So I don't know necessarily, unless you know, you can tell something in here that I'm not seeing. I don't know necessarily I would put that in the title of it because there's nothing in here. I'm going to spend my time to judge if I'm not really enamored with this image, looking around like, well, where's Christmas in this? And I just don't see it. So you know it because you were there, but there's nothing for the viewer to know that. Work on your title a little bit. The stroke is really dark on this. I would probably consider bumping it up in this case, maybe just a little bit more, because almost on my screen completely fades in. I can barely see.
You there?
Do you need to enjoy? Or
Oh, no, I didn't know you were done. Yeah,
need to enjoy it for a few more minutes? Okay.
that's Michael Orr.
All right. All right. Day of the Dead on Parade. So just off the top of my head with titles, you know, just keep them simple. The more simple, the better. We can probably understand this is a parade, so you could probably just call it Day of the Dead or Dead on Parade, something like that. You just want to keep those titles nice and condensed, you know, and not really drag them out. So we've chatted about that a little bit before. Nice capture here. I like the colors in this, like the angle, like the secondary subject that you have. A little strong on the stroke on the outside of this. Personally, I would tone that down just a little bit. And just be careful when you start picking multiple tones. So here we have black edge, we have gray, and we have red. And you already have a lot happening in this image already. So I would probably have kept this one pretty simple and not done the multiple colors on the matting. And just kept it a little more simple. But as far as expression, the tones in this, capturing this nice, it looks like there's one almost like a stray hair or something that's happening like in through here. Almost looks like lint on the sensor or something like that. But be on the lookout for those kind of things when you're putting things in competition.
Susan Van Manen.
All right, firelight. All right, well, this would certainly make for interesting photography. Don't get too close. This is nice. I like the expression that she has. Really seems, this performer seems to be really engrossed in the performance. Nice capture with the flames. You sort of get the energy that's in this. I'm sure you have multiple captures of this. If I were going to be really picky, it'd have been great to have her twisted towards us, maybe just a little bit more. Again, just sort of playing with this matting. Nothing in the image is really white, at least not bright white like what this is. So now you've given the judge something to look at, and this is going to tend to make your image look more muddy, especially if you use black and white, because now you've given me a really bright, stark white matte all the way around it as a comparison tool. So you have to be really careful. If you guys attended the class the other week, just try to pick a tone that's in here for these colors that are on the outside, for the stroke, or for the matte. Just make sure it accentuates, complements the image. This, in my opinion, really competes because it's so wide and so bright and white.
Michelle Garrigan.
All right, 4th of July. Here again with the fireworks, here we see a little bit more of those streaks kind of coming out, which is nice when you see the trails. It's a really odd color happening here behind in the moon. And there's these splotches, like it's partly yellow and partly gray. And there really doesn't seem to be a reason for that. It's just a little to understand sort of what's done that way and why it's presented like this. Other part of it, all the explosions are kind of happening from the bottom right and up and to the left. This is one of those images I would consider maybe doing it is a little more interesting since we typically read things from left to right. See if that might work going that way.
Earl Hageman.
All right. July 4th block party. So this is great. So this is one of those where we are having those wonderful streaks in the fireworks. So this is a little more typical of what you see. So I'm not saying always do as typical, but this is really nice for fireworks when you can have these streaks. You can really see what's going on. You have multiple layers of it. Well done. I really enjoy seeing the subjects here in the foreground. You know, you just sort of see the excitement of that kid standing there on the street with the hands up, or else could be hands over the ears, it looks like maybe. It's like super loud. So this is kind of nice. I like the way this is framed. It has great style and feel to it. You have a center of interest with the kid and the parent at the bottom, it looks like, and then the fireworks. This is an enjoyable image.
Joe Ring.
All right, just married. Sparklers, man, always saying it's a great idea. Well, they're at the church though, so we'll hold that comment for later. These are difficult because you really don't have a lot of light to work with a lot of times, but something really weird is happening with this image. So I don't know if this is an effect that's been applied to this after the fact. I don't know if I can, no, it's not gonna let me zoom in here without probably throwing the screen really off. There's these weird lines going through the arms of all the people that are in here. It's just something really bizarre happening, something really strange happening on the edge of this guy's face. So I'm not sure what effect has been applied to this or what you have done in post-production, but it has turned this into kind of an odd looking scene. Almost looks like brush strokes somewhat that are in there, but then it's photorealistic in other places. So I'm really not sure what happened. So I would go back and revisit this from the original file, see what's there, and then look at this again. Sometimes whenever you're using NIC filters and things like that, things can go really squirrely really fast if you don't have a good file to begin with or you have low light situations. So it looks like something like that has sort of happened here, or whatever effect it is not working well for the people involved.
Edgar Kuda.
Let the carnival begin. All right, so definitely don't run into this guy. So the only thing is, you know, sort of immediately jumps out here is just sort of the the bare hand. It's like you see all of this, but then there's like this bare hand. I'm almost wondering if this image would fit from being cropped in a little bit closer to kind of get that out of there, because this is really crazy what's happening in here. And I'm also seeing like these parked cars or something like in the background. It sort of draws me a little bit from the story. I would almost want to see this in a little bit closer. So play with your cropping here and see if that makes that a little more interesting. And then we're also seeing some like haloing of some kind going around these figures up here. So be careful with whatever's happening there.
Marianne Barnhart.
I am one. Let's see. Malin's first birthday. All right. So overall, you know, that's great. We capture these moments. Not that there really should be a cake there with a big disaster, but you guys have obviously captured that. This is nice expression, nice composition, but overall the image feels kind of flat to me. Yeah, even though there's some vibrant colors down in here and here, all of this looks very flat, and that's your center of interest. You know, all these things are drawing my eye out to that and not to this cute little that's right here. So I'm not sure what lighting, if any, was used on this, but you're not really getting a good quality of light on your subject here. So, you know, I'm sure that face is adorable if you get in there and get some light on it. So it looks like just a little suffering from a little image quality in that area.
Rebecca Perry.
Last part two, if you ever put this in competition, I probably would go ahead and take Eddie Bauer off of there just to be on the safe side. All right. Noche de Celebración. Well, I can't even say that. De Celebración. Need some, maybe my daughter in here to pronounce that one for me. This is a great stage setup here. Nice colors across the spectrum here. Again, this is one I would love to see matting around that to have a little bit more of a finished look to it. Would be really nice. Oh, and before I forget, on these titles, if you do something like that, you're gonna get some fool like me that's gonna look up there and be like, oh wait, what is that? So you do have to be careful where you're putting your things in competition. If you give it some really odd name or something that's really difficult to pronounce, or you choose another language for your title, if they're fumbling through that to get it out, that's gonna hurt your image. You want people to immediately see the image, hear the title of it, tie the two together, and start weaving a story about your image. So I'll give you props for going outside the box for that, but you're really gonna make it potentially difficult on yourself to score well, because now the judge's mind is thinking through that title and not looking so much at your image. The other thing I would say about this is the really bright white candle doesn't really lend itself to the other tones in the image. I would go back and try a different tone candle with this and see if that just blends a little bit better, because all your focus is going to be on that bright white and that bright light that's already coming that's up there. So anyway, go back, play with this a little bit more and come up with a simple title so when you run across people like me, they can read it. All right.
Bruce Murph.
Sorry, Bruce. All right. Percussionist at Indian Wedding. All right. So this is a nice, fun capture here. These guys are out having a good time. Probably, again, with the bright white matting is really going to compete against this. You want to be drawn into this image, and that is bringing my eye out to the edges of it. The other thing, I can't quite tell what's happening. I don't know if this guy almost looks like security trying to drag this guy away. This guy's out of focus because you focus back here and not on this guy. So now you have a really large guy, really close to the camera, taking up a good portion of it, who's not in focus, and a guy over here that looks like we're getting ready to drag him away. So in doing this, I would probably try to come in and capture a smaller vignette of what's happening. Check out these guys right here are really interesting. So look for those moments and, you know, try to really look for a story that's in there and try to keep it really simple. The more elements you have in a photo, when you're doing competition, the more things the judges have to look at, guess what? The more they can find something that doesn't seem quite right. And then I start looking at things like, well, this guy's got a bright white shirt on. And no, that's not your fault, but you didn't have to include him in the image because now he's sort of out of key with all these other cool dressed guys. So just be mindful when you're looking for things to enter in competition. Keep it simple, look for the stories, because these guys here, fantastic colors, you know, they fit the part. And I'm sure there's some elements back here you could use for sure.
CCR.
All right, post-game festivity. So yeah, this is kind of like social distancing here. One guy standing there watching it. Looks like, oh, maybe some two little kids there. Hard to tell. All right, this is just a lot going on with the effects. You know, it's nice, it's colorful, it's, you know, kind of vibrant, but I don't really understand the purpose of doing the additional effects of all these other random colors and waves and things are sort of happening around this. This is very artsy, very pop. And then you get down here, this is all very sharp and very linear with the billboards, and you can tack sharp read all the names of like everything that's on there. So these are really kind of fighting against each other of having something super sharp down here at the bottom, super sharp lines of this, and then you have all these wild waves and colors of everything is sort of happening up around that. So I'm not sure that's the best choice of effects for this image, but again, that's just kind of my take on it. You may run across somebody else that absolutely loves it. So this would be a gutsy one to put in.
Harold Lana.
All right, rainy day wedding. Right off, sort of my eyes going to these bright red umbrellas, which are putting that same tone on their faces. And then I have this really weird kind of orange stroke that's going around there that may or may not be in the bouquet. So I'm not sure that's the best choice. And when I look really close, it almost looks like the bride's eyes are closed or closing. So there's a lot of things here, unfortunately, kind of working against you. This is great. There's a story perhaps here with this young lady, but sort of adding this into it, not a really strong wedding candid image. And then the stroke is really working against you. So maybe go back and revisit, see if you have some other images of this that may be a little stronger.
Don Schickler.
All right, the Candyman can. Well, see, now that's a clever title, and it ties. So this is a great example. As a judge, I'm gonna hear the Candyman can, and then bam, I'm gonna see this image and immediately start chuckling a little bit, and that's gonna engage the judge with your image and tie the two together. You can immediately see the story. I don't have to think about this. And you have to think, when we're at nationals and we're judging, we could be in a room for, you know, 8, 9, 10 hours judging. So we're seeing image after image after image after image. So we want things to really stand out like this to us. So anyway, little side note there. So this is great. Candyman doesn't look necessarily thrilled, but you know, maybe he's had a long day, so we're not gonna hold that against him. Love the colors in this, love the motion in it, the angle of it, the way it's been presented, all that's nicely done. This is a fun shot and a clever title.
Ann Fulcher.
All right, Vows by the Sea. So again, you know, being a wedding photographer for so many years, the very first thing I go to is this girl down here. It's, you know, has her hand up, and I know that's really picky. But 1 second later, that hand would be down. You have, you know, not a lot of people do much with wedding images nowadays as far as retouching, but if you're going to put it into competition, it would be nice to clean it up a little bit and not have the microphone growing out of his chest. You know, maybe they met a karaoke bar, so this is maybe totally appropriate for this guy. I don't know. But clean up those kind of things that you see a little bit, the people in the background, And this goes into where this is a photojournalistic category or something you're entering in a wedding category. If it's photojournalism, you probably don't want to change it. If it's a wedding category and you can change things, those are the types of things that I would address. Other than that, it's a nice view of this. It's a little interesting on the cropping, and I realize it looks like if you went down lower, you'd probably be into the crowd even a little bit more, because this is a great scene. There's a lot of potential here, but I do like the layers of having them as a layer, sort of the beach and the water, and then the sky back there. So as far as that goes, and again, a wedding candid where you could have been limited on where you could be and move around, this is nice. I would perfect it a little bit more. Be careful not to cut off these people on the sides too, as far as part of the bridal party.
Very Troxel.
I mean, we can go there together next time and shoot that. Just let me know. All right, this is a winter garden. So this is really nice. It ties in, the title ties in immediately with what I'm looking at. There's a lot of colors across this, which are really pleasing to look at. And this is just a really nice, you know, capture. It's just easy to look at. It's nice having the center of interest with the glowing lights in the middle of the pond here, the pool. So composition is nice. You have a center of interest. The lighting is well done. It's a clean image. I don't see, you know, there's like people way in the background maybe, but there's no really distracting elements in this. Nice choice of a stroke and presentation. So this is well done.
Patricia Munford.
Nice job. And that's the last one I have in this category.
Yeah, so the rest of them now are all the open category.
Okay. So let me go back and make sure I'm on to the first one. Okay, any questions, problems, anything at this point? Or are you guys still able to see the full image?
Yes.
Yes, looks good.
Okay.
So far in chat, but just reminding everyone, if you do want to put a question into the chat or a comment, feel free to do that, and we'll grab them once Anthony's done with the grouping.
All right. Well, do you want me to say anything about the last group? Any questions there, or you want me to keep going? Not hearing anything? I'll keep going.
There are no other questions. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. A river runs through it. Man, does it ever. This is a wonderful scene here. I would love to go see this. So next time you're heading out that way, just again, contact me. I can be more than happy to go with you. Great depth in this. Great storytelling with this whole image, the trails of the stream that's coming out from this river and leading out to the ocean, I assume is where we're going. The mountains in the background, the angle of this, the tones, everything here, and you just get a sense of how vast this location is. So nicely done, nice scene.
And Vulture.
Well, infrared, almost forgotten. So this, I haven't seen many infrared images recently, so it's nice to see this. Again, as I was saying before, be careful on choosing a white matte, especially for infrared, because a lot of times you don't have a true pure white in an infrared like this. So try reversing that. Try using black with a little bit of a gray stroke in that perhaps to separate that off, because here's another case where that white is really going to compete against what's happening in your image. And it's so wide, it's really hard not to see it. And if I were looking at this on a real screen, it would be even brighter for me. So just be mindful of that. Otherwise, the subject is great. I spend time in graveyards when I'm traveling just because I love these old stones. So for me personally, this is really just wondering what the history is. And this really kind of draws you into it because of the way the stone is cracked. You see part of it. You know, it's just an interesting image. Love the fence back there behind it. So compositionally, this is nice. So great job on subject matter. Technically looks well done, nice and sharp. So nice image.
Jeff Stevens.
All right, batter up. So you know, you can't say anything bad ever about babies. It's a great baby. Overall, it looks, again, a little flat overall, the entire image. And it seldom is helpful when your subject is right against the background. So if you could back that off just a little bit further back there. This is a cute image. The parent will love it. It's in focus, but overall, it just has a very flat feel to it and not much quality of light to the image. You also have to be careful, you know, on your edges, because the baby's head and feet are really close to the edges of this. And for babies, you want to give them a little bit of room around them. So ideally, I'd like to see a little more space and not make it feel like this little guy is so boxed in.
Rebecca Perry.
All right, Blue Christmas. This is just a nice image to enjoy. Nice tones in the blues, nice white in the snow. You know, the detail that's in and across this. This is well done. I like the way they've sort of ganged up a little bit and decorated with 3 on one side and 2 on the other. So that was nice of them to pose like this. Again, sort of be careful. Don't get so close left and right on those tails. Maybe give it just a little bit more room for spacing wise. Again, an image, love to see some sort of presentation done to this, but this is a nice, clean, sharp capture.
Bob Shammerhorn.
All right, bobbing at sunrise. So here is actually kind of a great example of sometimes you can cheat in your title. So if you took this image and you're like, oh man, those things are totally out of focus. And I'm assuming you did this technique probably on purpose with a long exposure perhaps, or knew this was gonna happen. Let's say you took this and you didn't know it was gonna happen. A title like that can kind of save you. Oh, bobbing at sunrise, I get it, those boats are moving. So sometimes you can cheat a little bit with those titles because in the background it's nice and sharp, and I can see that in here. The posts are nice and sharp, with the exception of one that the boat must be hitting right here. So this is really interesting. You don't see many images like this. I like seeing the motion that's that. There's really a lot of vibrancy in the color of the blues in front of this, but then as I go back, those colors kind of drop off. So I don't know if you have done that on purpose across there. It kind of seems like you have, but then now this is not really in harmony with what's happened behind you. This all just sort of gets a little flat and muddy looking. So be careful if that was what you're doing. If that scene really looked like that, then I'll take that back. Just let me know.
Susan Van Manen.
All right, Canyon Guide. So it almost looks like this guy has been placed here, is right off the bat. It's just, he looks completely cut out. The feet sort of give it away down here, just the way that he's standing. So this is just a little odd. And I'm not really sure where that lighting would be coming from, because when you're in that canyon, most of that lighting is coming down from the top, but yet it looks like we have almost studio lighting on our subject here. So the story of the lighting on this canyon and the story of the lighting on him and his positioning don't match for me.
Ed Hageman.
I hope that they're muted. Down the memory lane. So be careful on the stroke on this. It's a little bold and a little bright for the scene. Probably tone that down and make it a little smaller, but nice having that on there. You know, this is kind of a capture. You know, these people look kind of casual, or she does. They look kind of dressed up in kind of outfits. It'd be nice to be able to see a little bit of what that story was about, perhaps. And I'm not sure everything up and around here really contributes to your story. I would almost consider taking out about a top fourth of that even, and just bringing the attention down on them a little bit more, just to make it a little more interesting. It looks like this is kind of a grab shot because you have, you know, these branches are here, the branches are coming down over the horse's head this way. So I probably would have stalked them a little bit and tried to capture maybe a little more engaging image or angle for them.
Sarah Van Am.
flower pot at low tide. So nice scene here. Like the way it's been positioned on a third. So compositionally, the storytelling of this, you know, flower pot being out here in the middle of nowhere. So clever title. If you're going to do the work of going here and capturing this, I would probably take out that little green weed that's coming up here. It's trying to sneak in on your photo. Other than that, it looks like the horizon line is maybe not perfectly horizontal. If you're going to do these images, just make sure, it's a little hard to tell without my tools here, just make sure that's perfectly horizontal across there for any scenic landscape that you enter.
John Schickler.
All right, Foggy James. Indeed it is. So this is foggy, and this really, I enjoy the clouds that are up here, the fog that's coming through, the blue that's coming through is nice tones. But down here, again, this is one of those cases, this is just blocked up and gotten really muddy. There's like no contrast across here. This looks kind of muddy, and then it's totally in shadow on this side. So there's lines of or banding going through this. Again, that could just be in the digital file that was submitted, so be careful with that. Hopefully that's not in your original file. But it just needs some work in bringing up the contrast or the blacks in these areas, because it just looks kind of blah and muddy. The beautiful part of this image is actually what I'm seeing up here.
Jay Denny.
All right, Harley Quinn. All right, so this is one of those cases where, you know, it's kind of a wacky image just because, you know, it's a girl with a baseball bat ready to take your head off. And so they went ahead and pushed that matting, you know, and just pushed her through that, which you can do if you have a kind of a gutsy image that's like this. So it's nice sort of taking a gamble like that. There's all kinds of fun things you can do with matting. This is kind of one of those. Addressing the image itself, really bright, really white here, sort of medium here, and then really all muddy down here. So it's almost like we have a spotlight that's on the face, and it doesn't match the story of what's happening down here. And this is all completely blocked up in this area here. So the quality of light across the entire subject is not exactly where I'd like it to be. This is pretty interesting and engaging. The quality of light here just definitely needs to be improved. So I don't know if you've toned this down on purpose, shot it that way, but then you're losing all detail all in this. So, you know, this, I like the idea of this, the concept of it, the gutsy matting with it, just the execution of the lighting falls short.
Joe Ring.
All right, Hawaii, again, when you need help, let me know. This might work for the matting. This is going to be really subjective. It just is really bright. I would play with your color choices, see if something might be underneath there that may be a little more interesting. But as nice as this is, as much as I would just love to jump in that and take a swim, there isn't really a strong center of interest for the image. It's beautiful, but there's not really a center image. I don't really focus on a particular cliff, a particular wave. I don't see like a boat or a person or a shark or anything to really hold me on there. So I look at it and I'm like, the blue's nice, the green's nice, everything in this is a nice image, but there's nothing that really screams at me of like, this is the point of this image. So while it's nice, always make sure you have something for the viewer to take a look at.
Sashi Iyer.
All right, heading upriver. Well, man, we hear this around here every day because I'm a mile from the river. Overall, again, just sort of I sit back and look at this, a very flat kind of a feel to it. You know, the matting should be much darker so this image kind of stands out from that, and just work on that contrast a little bit for this. This again is going to be a photojournalistic type of a shot. I would maybe even back off of it just a little bit because you really can't see much detail in their faces anyway. It is a nice capture. I probably would have shot rapidly, as you may have just look for other images which may be slightly more engaging. Like it'd be really cool if all three of the guys are like up and looking off the front of that boat at like where they're going. And that may or may not happen. You know, it's luck of the draw when you're doing anything photojournalism. So overall, nice. The guys here out there on those boats are probably love to see this photo. They'd probably be ecstatic with it. But as photojournalistic goes, it's kind of a capture, but not super engaging the way it's presented here.
And Linda Schmiel.
All right, hummingbird at work. This is just has a beautiful tone quality to it right off the bat. Tone down that green, just make that maybe a little bit darker. But this is nice. I don't even mind how we have this split. You have this blue tone back behind it here, green tone back there. Nice sort of composition of the flight. So this is actually a really nice capture. I'm not sure, you know, if you used a flash or some sunlight on this coming across, it's a little hard to tell. But this is a nice capture, nice diagonal across it. Well done.
Bill Whitworth.
All right, Icelandic, Nai. I will assume that's supposed to be night, sky. This is nice. Again, one of those things you kind of have to sacrifice the your ISO there because you could get a little bit of noise. But this is, again, nice capture for the, sorry. I thought I heard a comment there. Nice capture. It looks like the horizon again is sort of tilted a little bit, and that could be a hill, but it's really hard to tell. So maybe play with the orientation of this. And again, I'm sure this is probably how you took it, but maybe play with flipping this 180 degrees and sort of seeing those lines sort of leading across rather than coming up and to the left. I don't know that this down here in the bottom really adds to your story at all. So maybe even a little closer cropping might help this image to be a little stronger.
Ken Halverson.
Okay, little buddy. Great little story here. So this is nice. Probably the white matting is not too bad on here because you really do have a bright white on the top of that little sea chicken there. So this is kind of a nice image. I love the tone sort of across that. Nice sharp on the feathers. This is just a cute story. It's a cute image. Nicely done.
Michelle Garrigan.
Looking out from the graveyard. So yeah, this is one of those things, just be careful. You have a really big area of bright. Probably tone that down just a little bit, and it looks really smooth. So almost looks like it's been brushed out or something across there. It's kind of hard to tell what's happening. Looks like a little glow on the windshield. So something kind of weird's happening there, and I'm not sure what. But I like the eyeballs here that we sort of see from the side. Like the story. Maybe, you know, this doesn't probably add to your story back here, either through some cropping or toning that down, but that sort of competes a little bit against this.
Marianne Barnhart.
All right, moon at Manteo Lighthouse. So nice with the light sort of leading back to that. The orange moon really stands out back there. So it kind of makes me question if that's how it really was. Again, it kind of looks placed back there because of just the edge of it, and you know, just doesn't seem to fit quite right. And I'm not seeing that kind of light anywhere back in there. So I'm not sure exactly how that fits into the picture. And if it was like that, please let me know. I'll eat my words on that. I love the scene here. This is actually nice. I don't think you need the moon in there. So if it was there, great on you. If it wasn't there, I don't know necessarily that you need it. This is just a nice angle, nice leading into it, like the reflections, like the tone of everything around it. In this case, I think that almost takes a little bit away from it. But maybe take a little bit off here at the bottom.
Carol Hageman.
All right. Nestled and the anemone.
Anemone.
And oh, yeah, not an oceanographer either. I just spent my time on the water, not in it. This is nice. I like this. I like the fish sort of coming out of here. Again, tone this stroke down just a little bit, but I like that little repeating pattern you have subtly back there in the back of the mat. So good for you for doing that. And it's not so bold, it jumps out. It took me a couple of seconds to see what was happening there. So it's nice to have that pattern repeating out on the mat behind it. This is nice lighting across here. I like the subject placement of this. Again, nicely done.
Harold Lana.
Scroll down here a little bit. All right. Nighty night, Nora. All right, so a little bit of an odd skin tone here. And, you know, sometimes babies have that kind of a weird tone to them anyway, but this just looks really red back here, like on the hands, the fingers. It looks like you have some weird coloration things sort of happening to this. So I don't know that that is helping in this particular case. And then this is really out of focus here, which of course it's going to be if you're shooting and focusing on this, but it's such a large area that's out of focus, and it's so close to me as a viewer that it sort of competes against getting to that adorable little face that's hiding there. Again, on these strokes, I probably would have played with making this outer edge darker and not the same tone as what this is, because this is now sort of a really bright pink barrier and probably the brightest tone that's in the whole scene. So this needs to be darker for sure. And then it's just breaking up one segment of the scene from the other is kind of how it's coming across. I see from the dots here that could be a repeated image and sort of stretched out over it. So if that were the case, which now that I look at it, it does look that way, just make that outer edge darker.
Karen Davis.
All right, Polo 1, not Polo 2, Polo 1. Well, this is hard to capture, you know, to have this tack sharp. Horses are fast, in case anybody wasn't aware of that. And the motion of this is really fast too. So this is a great capture. I see like little specks of grass just frozen in time here below it. I can almost feel the horses and hear the excitement in this. So this is a really good, sharp, clear capture, well composed for this type of a shot.
Ling Whitworth.
All right, Proud on the Prairie. So this is nice, looks a little kind of flat back in there, but really like this guy here in front. Nice having the calves or whatever they're called back here hiding out behind. Just, you know, again, be careful, weird things like that that are happening. Just do multiple shots, look for your background, see if there's anything weird sort of happening there. Some of these, you just have to take multiple shots and look for those really small nuances of strange things happening, because that just looks a little odd of what's happening back here. But as far as this goes, really cool. Man, would love to have a nice tight shot of that, because that's just a really interesting face on that guy.
Terry Troxel.
All right, Rusty Dog. You know, it kind of takes you a second, but man, you can see it, the ears and the face and everything. So this one's going to make you think a little bit. It's really difficult to figure out what kind of a category to put this in or how to judge something like this. So again, this is one of those, somebody may look at it and be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. This photographer saw this, put this together, gives them credit for that. And somebody else will be like, yeah, it was nice, but you know, what do you do with it? So it definitely takes a certain audience to appreciate an image that's like this. Good of you for seeing it. Again, a little bit of presentation on this would probably be nice.
Bruce Murph.
All right, self-image. So again, kind of like the other image, again, we never compare real competition images, but we have a really large out of focus segment that is closest to me as the viewer. It is larger and out of focus than what the subject is, and I have to assume this is the subject because this is the part that's sharp. So you can play with things like this, but now I have to wonder, you know, why is it that this is black and white and this is in color and that's in color behind it? The candles aren't lit. I can't really tell what the story is. You know, the fingers are like really stiff here, the shoulders up. I can't really read the expression. So I applaud you for going sort of outside the box and creating an image, but it's hard for me to understand what the story is for this, or to understand why part of it's black and white and part of it's in color.
Michael Orr.
All right, shells. So this is fun. You know, I could see this hanging in the lobby at a hotel. This would be a very commercially saleable image, in my opinion. You would do really well if you had a series of these, actually. So I think this would probably do really well for some application like this. It's nice, it's clean, it's bright, nondescript kind of as far as placing it somewhere into decor. So this is a nicely done little art piece.
Anita Storino.
I should have known. All right. Sign of the times. All right. Class of 2020, you did it. So this again, photojournalistic, you know, you sort of see the signs of the day here up and around this. She looks, you know, not necessarily so engaged. So if they're a class of 2020 and they're supposed to be excited about graduating, I'm not really seeing that in her expression here. So, you know, this is kind of a, again, kind of a street grab as far as telling the story, certainly of what's happening in a lot of places. This does capture that. This guy is like super interesting. Man, I would like to see like a whole series of that guy there. Just really cool, interesting looking face. Maybe she's just having a bad day, or they've been sitting there for 30 minutes waiting for mom to take the picture. You never know. So it's interesting for photojournalism, but you know, it doesn't really draw me into it and really hold me there strongly.
Ted Dracuda.
All right, sunflower on stage. So this is nice. I like the kind of the texture and everything that we're seeing. It's large, it's close, we're exactly where it should be, separated from these back here, which is nice. I'm not wild about this weed that's back here sort of growing up, sort of competes to me against that a little bit, but you know, it's not bad. Almost does kind of balance having things over here. So I could go either way on this one probably. Be careful when you're using the double strokes. Again, you've got a really bright white in there, and there's not really a bright white except maybe in there, and that looks more yellow than white in that area. So just be careful on the strokes. But this is a nice image. I could see this on a note card or something like that also. Nice presentation.
Trisha Munford.
All right, the grunge look. All right, so a portrait like this obviously just has a different look and different feel to it. I personally would like to see a different prop for her to have in this. The stool really doesn't look grunge. You know, the boots do, her look does a little bit, and I sort of get what you're going for. This is great tone, like on the flooring, the background, you know, the tone kind of across her, all that kind of fits. And I think that stool kind of kills it for this image. You just need something that fits more the scene of what you're trying to convey here. This could be done on purpose of having her this position. Again, one of those, maybe play with flipping it, see if it looks more interesting to you that way.
Carrie Osterwinter.
All right. Urban River Morning. So pretty recognizable here. This is a nice capture for downtown. Love the motion blur that you have here. Everything looks pretty sharp on the buildings and the bridge. So as far as this particular scene, it's really clean and well done. So this is an engaging image. I would like to see this cropped even more from the bottom. I don't know that necessarily all of this down here is helping the image. The real story is in all the buildings, this and this part of the river, which is getting really good reflections from the city. You're kind of losing it once you get back out here. And I think if you take off some of this here at the bottom, it'll just make it a much stronger image. But this is well done. Nice tones across there, good choice on the matting.
Paul Bickford.
All right, that was the last one.
Nope, you lost my image.
What's that?
Look for image. There was a title,
Yeah,
In Peace.
It's not there. We'll have to talk about it offline.
All right. It's not there. Yeah, I've loaded everything that was sent to me.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Why, yes. Yes, I did.
Okay.
All right. So this is great. Anybody want to throw some virtual tomatoes?
Anthony, you did a great job. I think you gave us a lot more detail to take a look at, and a lot more ideas that the framing isn't as easy as it looked.
No.
A lot that we need to take a look at and adjust. So I think you did a great job.
Yeah, you know what? Well, thank you. Well, what I've found a lot of times when I'm judging is there's a lot of images that are good. And so if you have a basic foundation of photography, you know your apertures, you know your lenses, you know what your shutter speeds are going to do, and you have a good, solid understanding of the technical aspects of photography, you should be able to create a good image no matter where you go. The difference between good and great and amazing aren't that many steps beyond that. It really comes down to looking at really critical details in the images. Things growing out of someone's head, something growing out of the scene, the key strokes not exactly matching the scene and a little too bright. So a lot of these images are good images, and it really wouldn't take that much refinement to move it from good to great to amazing. Once you have that good basic photography understanding, and I've found that consistently among amateurs, advanced amateurs, other professional photographers, because I do this, I do judging and critiques around the country, and have done it actually in Brazil as well, which is fun. You want to come up with some titles. I do not read titles there, by the way. They have someone else do that. It's safe for everybody. But it's a consistent theme that I find no matter where I go. That's just generally just kind of tweaking. Most people have a pretty good understanding, especially you guys. Most of you have been doing this for a long time. So don't get discouraged. Don't be afraid to send your image to some other people. Have them look at it critically and send it back to you, and that really will make a huge difference. So that's my short sermon for you for Monday night.
Yeah, you just encouraged us to shoot more, to get the image just right. And I also found it humorous that you gave us this wonderful little course on using the mask, and now you have another aspect to critique.
Yes, that is indeed correct, because matting can be a wonderful tool and really can add to an image. It can also sink it pretty quickly if it's done poorly. So, I'm thrilled to see more mats than I've ever seen on images tonight in a critique. So a lot of you guys sat through that class last week, whichever it was for you, and applied it. So that's fantastic. You have to start somewhere, and you have to do it, and you have to get that feedback, and that's how you get better at it.
Yeah, and well, it's very useful that you gave us that feedback. We had the class, now we try it, and now you tell us, the things we could do to just tweak it better. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm always going to push you to do better. Yeah, I'm always going to push you to do better.
Anthony, before you go, does anyone have any other questions? All right, we are going
Okay, I just want to know if the moon was really there. Whose image was that?
That was mine, and the moon was there. It's at Manteo Lighthouse on Roanoke Island, North Carolina.
And it really looked like that.
Yes, there was a professional photographer there we didn't know him, but we just got to talking, that was taking the same scene with his new iPhone 11 Max Pro. Is that the name of it? You know what I'm talking about. The
Of
latest.
course he was.
And I was just amazed at the images that he was coming up with that. So, and he had a little gorilla pod that he
Right.
set it on the that one of those poles.
Selfie stick.
Pardon?
A selfie stick?
He had a little gorilla pod that put his phone on,
On a pier?
you know, to hold it like a tripod
Right.
On the pier.
on the pier. On the pier, yes.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, I would lose money on that because that looks so placed there. That must have been some super clear atmospheric conditions for it to look that sharp. But that's a great capture then.
Well, thanks. It was a lot of fun doing it. I guess we stayed there about an hour, and of course, you know, it rose slowly, and then after it got higher, you did get some more light from it, and it got brighter. And so anyway, it was there. I
Well,
got
that's
3 or
great.
4
Well-
photographers that can attest to that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I'll eat my words.
That's okay. Thank you,
Anytime.
Anthony. You're a great evaluator. We
Oh,
appreciate it.
you're welcome. Glad to do it, Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah, close to the horizon, it can look red like that.
Yeah, it was just such a perfect sharp edge all the way around it. Go back and look at that. It's crazy. Usually there's something in the atmosphere that it won't be that crisp.
Anthony, you're welcome to join us. We're going to jump into our business meeting and try to close by 8:30, hopefully tonight. But we thank you very, very much.
Oh, you're welcome, guys. Glad to do it. And
Thank
again,
you.
the
Thanks,
offer's
Anthony.
always
Thank you,
open.
Anthony.
Thank
if any-
you.
If anybody has anything that they want to ask about or, don't want to do it in front of the group, again, feel free to email me. If you don't hear something in a couple of days, don't feel bad to send it again. I get hundreds of emails a day, so sometimes it gets lost or goes to junk. But thanks again, guys, for having me. Nice job, and I'm sure I will see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank you, Anthony.
Good job. I'm going to stop recording at this point then.
Okay, and Philip,
Yeah.
are you here?
I am here.
Okay.
You can see me
We're gonna
right
turn-
here.
we're gonna
Here I am.